Hello. Today we're going to be talking about the nation under Jackson. Before we get there, we need to know about the election he lost. The year is 1824, and Jackson is up against Henry Clay, John Quincy Adams, and some guy named Crawford. Henry Clay was a mastermind behind the American system. John Quincy Adams was a son of John Adams, and Jackson was a war hero. After the election, Jackson had the most electoral votes, but not a victory. Clay, however, did not have enough to have a chance at winning, but he could become a teammate. So Clay endorsed John Quincy Adams, and John Quincy Adams made Clay the Secretary of State. When Jackson and his supporters heard about this, they were furious. They called the deal a corrupt bargain because at the time, before one became president, they were usually Secretary of State, like how John Quincy Adams was Secretary of State under Monroe. Now, John Quincy Adams was a lot like his father in terms of being president. They both sucked. In the election of 1828, one restriction for voting was lifted. This restriction was the restriction that people must own land in order to vote, and this caused Jackson, who was seen as a man of the people, to win by a landslide both electorally and in the popular vote. Many people saw this election as a common man against the elitists, and this is because Jackson's opponents began calling him King Mob as he had the support of the mob. Under Jackson, there were a few things he did. The first was internal improvements. At the time, America had just fought the War of 1812 and recognized the need for internal improvements. As a result, they began building roads. However, when a legislator asked the federal government to give aid to building a road that was rather long, it passed Congress, but using a favorite tool, Jackson vetoed the Maysville Road. There were a few main reasons why he did this. The first was that he saw it as a state issue. The other reason is that Jackson hated Henry Clay. Henry Clay was behind the American system, where it called for improved transportation so the North could make stuff, the South grow cash crops, and the West grow food for the growing nation. The second thing he dealt with was South Carolina threatening to leave the Union due to a tariff. In the South, it was known as the Tariff of Abominations. The tariff was originally designed to protect American industry, as Britain was able to produce goods that were cheaper. The result of the tariff was that the cost of living in the South grew as the South had to buy northern goods. The South hated this, and as a result of paying the tax, they attempted to nullify the tax. This idea was given to them when John Adams was president, and he passed the Alien Sedition Acts, and Jefferson and Madison, two Democratic Republicans, had sponsored a message of nullification saying the states could ignore the laws as they saw it as unconstitutional. And during this, there was a debate on the Senate floor called the Webster and Hayne debate. As Daniel Webster, a Northern senator, during the debate said liberty and union forever, Robert Y. Hayne, however, said the South must defend against Northern tyranny. In the end, Jackson threatened to rip South Carolina a new asshole. This also forced Jackson's vice president to resign. This was because Jackson's vice president was loyal to South Carolina. This would also be one of the times the South felt left out of internal improvements, as they felt as if they were fighting against Northern tyranny. The third thing that happened under Jackson was Indian removal. In Georgia, the Americans wanted to expand westward because they had hurt the soil due to farming only cash crops. For that reason, they wished to expand westward. The Indian tribes who were there were one of the 5 civilized tribes and went to the Supreme Court. The court sided with the sovereignty of the tribe, and everyone lived happily ever after. Haha, just kidding. Jackson actually ignored the Supreme Court. People called Trump a tyrant. A fourth thing that happened under Jackson was the Bank War. This war was fought between a bank and a government. The first thing you should understand is that Jackson hated banks and paper money. He believed everyone should be using gold and silver instead of money. The renewal of the Second Bank of the United States' charter was coming up. However, Jackson's opponents moved it forward to challenge Jackson's election. Congress voted yes, but Jackson vetoed the bill and had taken all the federal money from the Second Bank of the United States and instead moved it into state banks or pet banks. The pet banks were a lot less conservative when it came to giving out money. As a result, there was a large boom as the banks were giving out loans. However, this all came crashing down due to the Panic of 1837. Do you know what the worst part about this is? It actually helped him win re-election because people saw him as a man of the people. As in the veto message, he basically said he would not allow laws that allowed more powerful people to become more powerful and the poor to become more poor.